Hi, this is Pat Johnson, your sociology instructor. In this mini lecture, we're going to talk about the United States class structure. The class system of social stratification, if you remember, is a system of social hierarchy that allows individuals to move among classes. In other words, it has social mobility. So people can move up and people can move down in a class system of social stratification. At the top of the hierarchy in the United States class system of social stratification is what sociologists have dubbed the upper class. It's about 5% of the population. Our authors define the upper class as those earning at least $200,000 annually. I wouldn't get hung up too much on that figure. Some textbooks have it higher, some textbooks have it lower, but these are high wage earners in our society. If you can see by these pictures that I chose to depict the upper class, these are people with usually fancy cars, nice houses, good vacations. These are people who many Americans strive to emulate in that they have a more luxurious lifestyle in our country. We can distinguish between two types of upper class, those who are labeled upper uppers and those who are labeled lower uppers. It has nothing to do with how much income or wealth they have. It has to do with how they got their money. If somebody is an upper upper, they inherited their wealth. So on the right you can see Paris Hilton. On the lower right, you can see a man by the name of John Mars and Forrest Mars Jr., his brother. Both Paris Hilton and the Mars brothers inherited wealth. Paris Hilton from the Hilton family fortune of hotels, the Mars family from the Mars candy fortune. They are upper uppers. On the left, in the upper left, is the wealthiest man in the world, at least at this point. His name is Jeff Bezos, and he is the head of Amazon, Amazon.com. In the lower left is Oprah Winfrey. Both of these individuals earn their wealth. They are what is referred to as self-made billionaires, billion with a B. Very wealthy individuals. Oprah came from an even lower class than Jeff Bezos did, but both of them came from fairly humble beginnings and amassed great fortunes. Just below the upper class is the middle class being about 55% of the population in the United States, earning about $40,000 to $200,000. Again, don't get caught up too much on those numbers of the wages. Also, if you earn $40,000 in some parts of the country, you can lead a fairly nice lifestyle. And in other regions of the country, like if you're in New York or you're in San Diego, if you're in Miami, $40,000 doesn't get you much as far as housing, transportation, and so on. In our area, where I teach, Eastern North Carolina, being in the middle class, even in the lower middle class, can get you fairly good income. Now, what type of jobs do people in the middle class typically do? Well, our author tells us that many are white-collar workers. White-collar was a traditional term meaning that somebody had an education. They worked sometimes behind a desk. They worked with lots of education for their position, versus blue-collar, which was more of the trades or vocational jobs. On the left, you see people who would be typically upper middle class people, a lawyer and a doctor, earning about $100,000 to $200,000 a year, where on the right I have pictures of nurses, of teachers, These would be more lower middle class, earning about $40,000 to $100,000 a year. I disagree with your author that says that those who are tradespeople, who are blue-collar workers, are below the middle class, that they're in the lower class or the working class. Many highly skilled trades, people with associate degrees in technical programs, are middle class. They earn good wages. Working class is about 20% of the population, according to your authors, earning about $20,000 to $40,000 of family income, and their jobs are often in the service sector. The pictures that I chose for here are people like lower ranking enlisted in the military, beauticians, blue-collar tradesmen, police officers in some areas of the country are working class. In other areas of the country, some of these occupations would be middle class, but they would also probably have a higher standard of living. Another thing to consider is how many earners are there in a family. Even though I have a lot of education, I barely make it into the middle class. I earn in the mid-50s as far as my salary goes at the college I teach at. I am a single earner household at this time, and so there's only one salary coming into my house, not two. But after I marry, I'm engaged, and when I marry, both my fiance, then husband, and I will join our salaries together, and we'll be in the higher end, not 200,000, but we'll be in the upper end of the upper middle class, because we're combining his engineering salary with my teaching salary. The lower middle class is about 20% of the population. They earn less than $20,000 a year. This could be from part-time employment, numerous part-time jobs. Often, if people are in the lower class, they can receive some type of transfer payment. Transfer payments are things like welfare, food stamps, housing subsidies, child care subsidies, and life is rough if you're in the lower class. Part of the lower class is what sociologists call the underclass. These are people who are in more permanent poverty because of what we'll call the culture of poverty in the next section. There could be mental illness, there could be health problems, there could be homelessness, but if you are in the lower class, especially if you're in the underclass, life is really rough. Wages are very low if there is any earning at all. And so we can see social mobility in the class system. If you're in the lower class now, that doesn't mean you'll always be there. I often have students who are in the lower class or the working class hoping to move up into the middle class or maybe even into the upper class with salaries after they get their education and their jobs. So again, remember there's social mobility in the class system in the United States.